Hey everybody, Danielle Hargenrader here, founder of Diabetes Dominator. Really excited to bring you today's episode of Unleash Your Inner Diabetes Dominator because today I have an awesome guest, Dr. Jody Stanislaw. I'm going to do a quick intro of her just so you know all of her awesomeness, and we're going to get right into it. So today my guest is Dr. Jody Stanislaw. She earned her doctorate in naturopathic medicine at the nation's premier holistic medical school. Dr. Jody treats today's most common health issues using natural remedies with a focus on type 1 diabetes, having had it herself since 1980. She works with patients all over the country, virtually via phone. Her most popular program is her Easy Lifestyle Transformation Program, which allows patients to feel better than they ever thought possible. She is fun and energetic and loves helping people not only get healthy, but to feel happy and awesome. So thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Jody. How are you?
I'm great, Danielle. I'm so excited to be chatting with you today.
Yes, I'm very glad that you had the time, and obviously we're both excited about awesomeness and diabetes together. So why don't you give us a little bit of background for those of us or the viewers out there that haven't heard your story before. Let us know about your diagnosis in 1980 and kind of how you got from where you were then to where you are now.
Okay, I'll try to fit that in a short period.
Take your time.
35. I've had it for 35 years. As of June of this year, June 15th of 2015, it'll be 35 years. And so I was 7, and I was put in the hospital for a week, and I went to this awesome children's hospital in Seattle. And it was fun. I mean, I had to do a shot once a day, but then otherwise I got to play in the halls. I got to go to the arts and crafts room. You know, I had cable on my bed, and nobody even had cable at home, and it was just fun. And all the doctors would come in with like clown hats or, you know, stuffed animals, and I was like, I don't want to leave this place. This place is awesome.
I have to say that's the first time I've heard that description of the hospital at diagnosis, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, it was fun, man. I was like, I love this place. And so that's the week I decided that I wanted to be a doctor, because I thought, this is what I want to do. You know, I want to help other people feel good. So that's how it all started. And back then, it was urine testing. There wasn't any blood testing. So I was a science geek kind of, and I loved that. So I had to pee in a cup, you know, twice a day, and then you had to take a dropper of your urine and put it into a test tube, and then you had to get your tweezers and take this little tablet and drop it into the test tube, and then the test tube would start fizzing and get hot, and it would turn different colors.
Wow.
You'd want it to be blue, because if it was blue, that means you didn't have sugar in your urine. But if it was orange, that was bad. That means there was a lot of sugar in your urine. So, but I did shots, and then, you know, it was exciting when they got the blood tester thing, but then it still took 2 minutes, you know, and there was no machine that read it. It was like a pH strip, and it would turn colors, and there was 2 colors on it, of course, and then you had to match it to the color bar, right? But the thing is, the top color bar would match 80, and then the bottom color bar would match like 240. And so you're like, well, what am I? Am I 80 or am I 240?
In 1991, for me, it was similar. I think the bar had gotten a little bit more descriptive, where it would give you a range of color, I guess, between like a green all the way up to like a red. So you could hold it and think, well, maybe I'm, you know, 180 or 200, but you never really knew because there was no readout, even in 1991. So.
Wow. Yeah. But then, of course, the big, you know, the machines like this came along where you could stick the thing in it and it would read it. And that was exciting, but it still took 2 minutes, right? You had to keep the blood on for a minute, and then I remember I'd always need a timer. I'm like, Mom, it's 1 minute. I need a Kleenex. I gotta wipe it off. I gotta wipe the blood off in a minute. And then you wait for the second minute, and you're like, oh, I forgot. It's 5 minutes. Is that bad? You don't have to do it over? Yeah. So, you know, I was a really good kid. I did what I was told, and I was told what I had to eat and when and what time and how much, and I wrote down everything I ate, and I still have, you know, the first 3 years of logbooks. And
wow.
So I never really rebelled in terms of, okay, you got to test and you got to do your shot. But what really went south for me was my relationship with food. I wasn't allowed to have any choice. There was never a choice involved, you know. And then sugar was incredibly limited, and so I started sneaking food. Anytime I'd go to friends' houses, I'd sneak food at Grandma's. I knew where Grandma kept her granola. I knew where my friends' cookies jars were. And it turned into a pretty bad eating disorder. I ended up in a rehab center for 2 months, actually, in my 20s, because I just, there was just so many rules around food about what you can eat, when you can't eat, and this is good and this is bad, and I just felt like I could never have a choice, and it made me angry. And so I would binge and think, you know what? And then, of course, there's the non-diabetic food issues. There's like, well, I would be lonely and I'd want to eat, or I was a female and I want to be thin, and I thought, oh God, don't eat that, you're gonna get fat, and then I'd just dive into the other end of the pool and overeat. And so it's, diabetes is very complex in so many ways. But luckily now, I'm so much more at peace with everything. Now, I still have food issues, absolutely. Like I could go into a binge if I wasn't careful. I still want to reach out emotionally and eat sometimes. A low blood sugar level, if you're in the wrong place with a low, you just want to eat everything and the roof and the walls. And so I still do a lot of work about keeping myself safe around food. And I eat very low carb because having good sugar levels is so important to me. And I'm finally to the point now where I generally don't want a cookie. Right. It's not because I can't have it, which is why I binged on them for so many years. And I finally realized, you know what, I love being 100. I love being 90. I love being 110. Yeah. And those numbers are more important to me than the cookie that's going to make me go up to 250.
I have to thank you just for sharing all of that, because I didn't even know all of that until you just shared it. And I think that brings up such an important point, even for me. As a lot of people may know, my history is similar. I had, binge eating problems. Mine was related to depression, but again, that leads to the loneliness. And, I was rebelling a little bit against the diabetes and all of that stuff. But the thing is, for me, even today, as an athlete, as somebody who is obsessive about, kind of keeping my blood sugars good. And I always say the obsessed is a word people use for people who are really committed. It's not like a bad thing. But I mean, sometimes I go to the store and I walk past the bakery department and I'm like, I have to take a step back and be like, okay, is this really what you want right now? Like, you literally have to be in the moment, be present, and say, is this going to be worth that 250, 350 reading later, or even tomorrow, because the sugar binds to your red blood cells and the glucose is just sticking there, and you can have those levels rise for days after you have that binge. And so I'm really appreciative that you're sharing that, because I think a lot of people out there think it's just like, oh, well, these people out here talking, they've already conquered or dominated. It's like, we've come far, but it's an ongoing journey, and it's always going to be a journey that we're going to be kind of on. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, getting diabetes is the school of hard knocks for letting go of perfectionism.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
There's no perfectionism, and there's no perfected diabetes at all. So, yeah, the food thing, where was I going with that? I just choose to eat low carb because it breaks my heart. I actually volunteer at diabetes camps in the summer, on staff. Yeah. And the general teaching is count your carbs and cover. Count your carbs and cover. My girls at my table, they're eating 100 grams of carb. They're eating 150 grams of carb. They're taking 15 units of insulin, and then they wonder why they're 30 in the middle of the night, Yeah. And it's heartbreaking to me that people are taught just count your carbs and cover, because it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. The insulin is not going to work at the same time that the food is digesting. You're either going to have a huge high followed by a huge low, or vice versa.
Yeah.
The only way to get good sugar level control it's what Dr. Bernstein calls the law of small numbers. You eat small amount of carbs, you give yourself small doses. Then you can't really go super high and you can't really go super low. And having said that, I follow the law of small numbers, and I was 180 this morning. I hadn't eaten anything. It's just I did a really intense workout. My cortisol was spiking, and so here I am as as you're right, obsessed is not a positive word, but committed. And of course, I'm still going to go up to 180. You know, but I didn't have, you know, a bagel and a mocha for breakfast.
Exactly. I think that's also, you bring up a great point for me too, is when I started really getting into exercise, is that I was so confused because I wasn't, you know, this is 6-7 years ago. Why would my blood sugar get so high after I would work out? What is wrong? You know, I would think it would go low, and it doesn't always happen, but oftentimes, you know, your body does perceive, you know, the cortisol gets released, and, you know, even though our pancreases aren't readily producing insulin, they still produce a amount of glucagon. And when normal non-diabetics work out, your body perceives that you need that glucagon to kind of sustain you through the workout, whereas we don't need that, but our body doesn't really know that. So when you do go high after a workout, or you shoot up after a workout, that's kind of like one of those situations where it's like, well, I knew this could happen, and instead of feeling like, what's wrong with me, or why is this happening to me, it's like, well, I know why this is happening, and I knew this was a possibility, but it was totally worth the workout anyway. Like, you just kind of have to be like, roll with the punches, because there's always going to be some punches.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So then I still always was obsessed with wanting to be a physician. But as I got into my 20s and went to all my diabetes doctors, I was like, okay, these people are not fun. These are not the people that were at the children's hospital with me. And I thought, wait a minute, I don't want to sit in a little square room with no windows. And I was like, med school sounds awful. And so I actually worked for Eli Lilly for 3 years, and then I sold insulin pumps for a couple years. And but all those years, I still was, you're not a doctor, Jody. This is your dream. Why are you taking the easy road out? This is not your dream. To be a sales rep is not your dream. You know, so I finally got all my pre-med classes done. When I turned 30, I quit my pump selling job, and I found this medical school that was a holistic medical school. And they incorporate nutrition and exercise and herbal medicine. It's a 5-year doctorate program, all the same science and pathology of regular medical school. There's only 4 schools in the country that give this degree, this ND, so naturopathic doctor.
I love it.
You know, I did cadaver work for a year. I studied oncology and pediatrics, and I studied everything at a regular medical school, but then we have all this wonderful holistic stuff. So so that was the other turning point, is I was like, I knew I didn't want to go to the regular, you know, medical school. So now I get to help diabetics all over the country. Or, I mean, I work with non-diabetics too, but I work totally virtually on the phone, and I just love helping people. I just love making people feel great.
And I think personally, I'm not a doctor. I have a bachelor's degree in nutrition science, but for me, the schooling that you went through is what's missing in the world today, and in my opinion, very much part of the reason why, you know, the majority of people that are in hospitals and in precarious situations with their health are all preventable. I actually interviewed a friend of mine. Her name is Mary Zimmerman. She was a nurse for 25 years, and she left nursing because she said that on average, 8 out of 10 patients that she saw in a day had lifestyle diseases and problems that were 100% preventable by nutrition, proper exercise. And without that naturopathic aspect of the doctoral training, a lot of doctors nowadays just are not equipped to give nutritional guidance in the way that is necessary, so that people are not getting type 2 diabetes, or not getting, you know, coronary disease and high blood pressure and all of this other stuff that is literally 100% preventable. Not even like, oh, maybe it's preventable. It's 100% preventable, and we're missing this gigantic piece in our medical system today. And I think that I kudos to you for getting that, and I wish that that was a requirement for all doctors. I mean, it really seems like, logically speaking, that would be.
It's baffling. It's baffling. And I mean, my opinion is, this is a whole tangent that I want us to go down, but, you know, our country is driven by profits.
Yeah.
That's what we hold dear. And when you're sick, it's really expensive. And I'm convinced I just actually watched this documentary last night called Fed Up.
I've seen it. Yes.
Yeah. it's all about the food industry and the sugar and everything. So I encourage people to watch Fed Up. But I got frustrated because I had a doctor's office and people would come to see me for one appointment. And we all have this mentality of, it's one appointment, you get your whatever, and you walk out. And I thought, what, this isn't how I want to help people. I want to truly help people change their life. So I work entirely virtually with patients on the phone, and I have, a free consult that anybody's available to talk to me for free. And then I'll hear all about your life, what you're eating, how you're thinking, do you exercise, how's your diabetes if you have it. And then I'll say, I can't really help you in one day, but I can help change your life in 3 months. And that's exactly what I do, is I do a 3-month program where we talk on the phone every week, and it's all about getting those healthy lifestyle habits underneath you. And people are like, oh, so you're a health coach? And I'm like, well, I do health coaching, but I believe it's the best doctoring that I can do.
Yeah, I agree.
I could just sit here and give you a bunch of herbs and vitamins and you call me a doctor, but I'm not doing enough with that.
And I think exactly what you're saying is what needs to be done is that you're treating the source of the problem instead of the symptom of the problem. Even with us as type 1 diabetics, obviously we know what the source of the problem is, but there are also a lot of other sources. The emotional side of type 1 diabetes, it's like most endocrinologists or even primary care physicians, at least for me and for the many clients that I've worked with and people that I've interviewed, the emotional side of it is not addressed. And what we talked about with the food, like you said, well, my doctor said just bolus for everything that I eat. I can have soda and I can have whatever I want. It's like, well, of course you can have whatever you want, but why would you, regardless of whether you're diabetic or not, want to eat these foods that technically are not foods? I mean, the statistic is that about 80% of what's for sale in every average supermarket across America is not actually food. They're food-like items that aren't, and this is what we're sustaining our livelihood on, our lives as a population. And nobody even, well, I wouldn't say nobody, but the majority of people who are in a position of authority to kind of give that information to the patients are not giving that information, and instead, like you said, are saying, well, just bolus for everything that you eat and eat 100 carbs at a meal and that's fine. It's
not fine.
It's not fine.
It's heartbreaking to me. I mean, I don't even think I can go to camp this year. Like, I can't. I mean, the kids eat the cheap food because,
I've actually had the pleasure of volunteering at Camp Freedom here in Pennsylvania. It's in Schwenksville, and it's sponsored by American Diabetes Association and the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And I've gone, I went there 4 years in a row to present about nutrition and about how important it is. And then I would be invited to lunch to stay at lunch for, just after presenting, and then I would see what the children were being served for lunch, and it was a combination of sandwiches and waffles and rice, and I was thinking to myself, how is this possible? How is this happening when these amazing organizations like the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, they do amazing work, are giving these diabetic children this quality of food at the camp where they're supposed to be learning to better take control of their actions so that their diabetes doesn't rule their lives in such a detrimental type of way. It's overwhelming. It was overwhelming.
Well, I'm just eternally grateful that there's people like you and I. I mean, there are people out there making a difference, and anybody that's listening, reach out to Danielle, reach out to me, and that's why she and I are doing this. Like, that's what we love to do. And when I do a nutrition lecture, I basically could summarize everything in a sentence. Eat foods that are made from nature and balance your blood sugar levels. That's it.
It really is it.
Like, have whole food 3 times a day. Don't buy packages and boxes, and make tons of veggies, make tons of chicken, eat tons of apples with peanut butter, celery with peanut butter, omelets for breakfast, hard-boiled a bunch of eggs on Sunday so you have 2 eggs in the morning ready to go. A little processed food like a whole grain piece of toast, no biggie. I'm a big fan.
Now we even have Ezekiel bread, so that's better than whole grain toast. So
the sprouted wheat. And I'm a big fan of the 80-20 principle, where 80% of the time you're doing great, And then the other 20%, I don't really care. Like our bodies are brilliant. Our bodies are resilient because I'm not a hardcore person. I will drink tequila. I'll eat chocolate. I'll have some cake, but it's not very often. It's not very often.
The same way. That's so funny because I actually went out last night. Funny enough, a couple of friends of mine, my one friend is getting married and she's leaving on tomorrow, and she said, well, let's go out and have one last drink. And I almost never drink just because growing up I was also kind of like a science-y kind of nerd, kind of self-proclaimed person, and I knew that drinking and diabetes didn't go together, but I had some tequila last night, but I didn't have a margarita. I just had some tequila by itself because I'll have a little bit to drink, but I don't want to deal with the margarita spike. And I had a level line all through the night with just a little bit of tequila on ice. And, you know, it's not about being perfect because perfect is not real. Perfect is like, I always say, it's like chasing a unicorn. You're never going to get it. So just give it up. But you do have to live your life, and it's not about, you know, oh, well, this has to be this way and it has to be so rigid. But you just almost have to really want it to be as close to perfect as possible. And when I was speaking with Riva Greenberg, she brought up a really good point, because I said the words control your diabetes, and you can't control your diabetes so much as you can control your actions that you take in regard to your diabetes, and that's where it all balances out. So
yeah, and that's why I also won't say 100%, because the 100%, the perfection in eating, is what ended me up in a eating disorder rehab center, because I was told all through my childhood I had to be perfect around food. I mean, who can be perfect around food? No. I mean, the only person I know is Dr. Bernstein, right? Otherwise, he's not the norm.
He's an anomaly for sure.
Total anomaly. We love him. We love what he's done.
Absolutely.
But you know, I don't want to only have 12 pistachios. I might actually not even want to count them.
Yeah, I hear you. That's funny.
So,
I'm gonna go into my normal. So when I get towards the end here, I usually ask everybody what they tell, and it's actually perfect because you tell people things all the time. What your top 3 actionable items that you tell people that will help them with their actions regarding living happy, healthy, and awesome with diabetes.
Well, funny you say awesome, because I have a Be Awesome formula that I know I mentioned to you before we were recording. But my Be Awesome formula is the 9 acronyms for how to make healthy habit change last. Because at the end of the day, it's really about creating habits. We don't want to have to constantly be thinking, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that. Like, for example, I'm sure we don't think anymore, I have to brush my teeth twice a day. We just do it.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's the goal now. The goal that in my 3-month program, that's where my patients get to. They get to, I just do these things, right? But how do we get there? How do we get there? Well, think about your teeth brushing. You had your mom there, and she was like, hey, did you brush your teeth? Hey, did you brush your teeth? So you had somebody there. You didn't do it by yourself. So that's step number 1. You've got to have a support. You know, hire me, hire Danielle, have a friend. Don't try to make a change by yourself. Number 2 is invest in yourself. You didn't learn to start brushing your teeth every day in a week, or maybe even in a year. Who knows how long it took you to actually just brush your teeth twice a day without being told, right? So that's the other thing. Invest in yourself, time, and then also value. When you put money into a program where you're getting change, you get better results.
I could not agree with that anymore. And I always add that, you know, in everything that I say, I said the best investment you can ever make is an investment in your own personal development. I mean, I always say about my husband and I, we're huge into personal development. Like we were talking before we started about Tony Robbins. I've been through his entire Master University program. I follow people like Brendan Burchard, and none of their events are cheap. But the thing is that I always come out on the other side saying, wow, I got like 3 to 5 times as much value that I paid for that is going to last me my entire life. That I would. It's total. I agree with that. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So invest in yourself. So don't do it alone. Invest in yourself, and then baby steps. So the Be Awesome formula. The B stands for baby steps. You know, don't go from 0 to 100. Don't go from tons of carbs to no carbs. Don't go from never working out to 7 days a week. It's just baby steps. Have somebody to help you. And I'd love to offer people to you can have a free consult with me if you want to chat with me. My free consult sign up is consultwithdrjody.com. And so that's consult with and then drjody.com.
Just in case anybody's missing that now, she's going to send me that exact information, and when I post that, when this is live now, if you're watching it underneath this video, you can have that link immediately. So don't worry about missing it. I'll have it there posted.
So I offer, because I love reaching out to people. I mean, just like Danielle reached out to me, that's how we are having this talk right now. So reach out to me, and we'll have a free chat. So, and that's of the Be Awesome formula. B is baby steps. E is expect imperfection. A is accountability. W is know what you want. Be really clear on what you want. Don't have the person that you're working with tell you what you want. You have to know what you want. That's especially true with parents that have type 1s. You know, they keep telling their kids what they have to do. You've got to get the kid to know what they want, and then they'll do it, right? E is expect less of yourself. Don't expect to work out 7 days a week if you never have. S is the dollar sign for investing time and money. O is know your obstacles, and then we together would make a plan to how to overcome those. M is mirror, for really be able to see yourself, like trust and believe that this is possible. And then also daily reminders. I like having Post-it notes on my mirror, remind me of my goals. And then E at the bottom is excitement. Have celebration along the way. Don't keep waiting for the day that you're perfect diabetic, because we'll never get there, right? We have to celebrate along the way. So that's the Be Awesome formula. And you asked me for the top three. The top three that I recommend are baby steps, accountability, and invest in yourself, time and money.
I honestly could not love everything that you just said anymore. I honestly, for those of watching out there, Jody and I just met today for the first time virtually. We've chatted, and I literally feel like this woman is a sister from another mother. Like, I literally feel like we're like peas in a pod. So I'm so excited that I get to bring her out here to the diabetes community, and you know, we can just share this, and this was awesome. And I will put every link that she talked about up under this video. So if you just scroll under the video, you can give her a call, get that consultation, because I'm 100% confident that it will change your life. I believe it fully. Yeah. So if there's nothing else you'd like to add, is there anything else you think you would like to add before we end this?
I just want to say hello to every single person that's watching, and I'm so glad that you found us, because this disease is a lot, and it's really fun to have other type 1s who totally get it, because even if you love your endo, or you love your husband or your wife or your mom or your dad, they don't get it like we do, you know. And so it's just, I love the internet. I mean, when I grew up, I didn't know any diabetics. You know, I'd wait a year to go to camp so I could see Missy Davis, my only diabetic friend, for a week, who I can't find anywhere on Facebook. Missy Davis, where are you?
Well, Missy, if you're out there, Jody's looking for you. Yeah. I had the same experience. I didn't meet anybody else. I was diagnosed when I was 9 years old. I didn't meet anybody else or even know of any other diabetics until I was like in my 20s. And that's what you're saying. The internet is a beautiful thing. We're out here. We want you to reach out. You have a voice. We want to hear it. Don't feel like you're alone, because you're not alone. And we're here to be a community and to bring everybody together and lift ourselves up. That's what we're here for. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us today. What's that?
I said, no, you're not alone.
No,
you're
not at all.
Alone. Yeah. Call me, call Danielle.
Definitely. All right, well, I'm going to end this now. I honestly couldn't be more thrilled with the way this went. I hope everybody out there has enjoyed this, has found some real value in what's been said here, because I think I've even found a ton of value in this. So again, stay tuned. There'll be another interview released next week, and you know, go check out Dr. Jody and keep dominating diabetes every single day. Don't give up, guys. Talk to you on the next interview.